And we are live. Hi, everyone. I hope you can all hear me okay. Is my sound okay? Yeah. Good. Okay. So thank you for joining me. So today we are going to be speaking about the recent announcement on the JW website that door-to-door ministry will be resuming with effect from September 1st. And to help me discuss this, my co-host will be Daniel Toriddon, who is the host of the podcast Onion Unlimited. Daniel is also an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he has some unique insight that will be valuable to this conversation. So welcome, Daniel. Thanks for joining me.
Hello, Riley. Thanks for having us. It's a privilege.
Thank you. So please, if we could just start by you giving us a bit of your background and tell us about, because you were PIMO while doing the ministry some years back. So if you could just tell us a little bit about that.
I was, yep. So born in Jehovah's Witness, third generation. So I was born in nearly 53 years ago. Started out theocratic ministry school publisher when I was about 4 years old. So right from the very start, I was thrown in the deep end with the preaching work. Baptized at 16, left school, went straight into pioneering, and the pioneer ministry is pretty much what I've done, or what I did do, up until I finally left the Witnesses in 2019. I did the regular pioneering for most of my life. Even when I was married with kids, I carried on pioneering. Served as an elder and a ministerial servant for a period of time, and I was in the foreign language ministry. So I was in the Thai ministry work and also the Metropolitan Cart Witnessing. My claim to fame is I've been disfellowshipped twice. The first time was 2000. Well, I woke up in 2004, became PIMO in 2004, and I was disfellowshipped in 2006 on a charge of apostasy. So I was actually out for 3 years. And I did the unthinkable. I went back. I did it for my family, basically. I was not enjoying the shunning part of things, especially when my children were small. So I went back in 2009 and basically got back into pioneering again, just for the sake of reputation, I think, more than anything, just to prove a point. And I was there until 2019, pretty much as a pioneer all the way through that period of time, until I was disfellowshipped again in 2019. And this time I've not gone back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for telling us that. So what was it like being a regular pioneer while being PIMO? What was that like?
Tricky, to say the least. I was always conscious at the back of my mind not to refer to it as the truth. I never referred to it as the truth. I'm very proud to say that I didn't actually bring anyone into the truth while I was pioneering. I actually spent most of my time as a pioneer was more talking about other people's spiritual beliefs, so Christianity, and I was quite interested in Hinduism and that sort of thing. So I used to enjoy the chats with people on the doors and on the cart work, but I really felt conflicted in terms of kind of directing them towards the organization or having a Bible study, that kind of thing. I didn't really go down that route at all. I just used to have sort of spiritual conversations with people.
Right, but you still got your time in. That was the most important thing.
I did. I was actually very good. I was actually a very good regular pioneer, even if I was PIMO. Yeah. I used to put in about 100 hours a month, most of it on the cart, because I found that the door-to-door ministry was, I don't know, pretty pointless, really. Either people are not in, or you knock their door and they just feel pestered, don't they?
Yeah.
Whereas at least with the cart work, any conversations I'd have as a pioneer were normally people approaching me, so I didn't sort of feel quite as much as that I was pestering them.
Yeah,
I think the word is conflicted, and I don't envy anyone in a PIMO state that is now having to go back into the door-to-door ministry after kind of a 2 or 3 year break. That's got to be tough, I think.
Yeah. How do you, based on your experience, how do you imagine a lot of PIMOs will be feeling right now after this announcement?
I'm motivated, I think, if I'm honest. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and we were trying to estimate how many will probably go back to door-to-door ministry work. And he seems to think that there'll only be less than half, probably about 40% will go back. I'm a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, optimistic, pessimistic, could be either. I'm more of the opinion, I think probably 60 or 70% of the witnesses, even PIMOs, will go back to doing door-to-door work.
Really? That's interesting.
I think so. But I mean, I could be wrong, but I tend to think that it could be high because of the peer pressure. And I think that's it. I think ones will go back to doing door-to-door work, but I think it will be under duress. And I think I know if I was still there after a 2 or 3 year break, I would be looking for every opportunity not to do the door-to-door work. I'd be looking for long tea breaks and a bit of the old cart witnessing, or doing a few doors and then nipping off for a coffee.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the cart witnessing, because it's such an easy way to get time in without actually speaking to anyone. We could actually see an influx of like people applying to do that kind of witnessing.
Yeah, and I think over the COVID pandemic, we've also seen quite a few that would have never pioneered or did very, very little in the ministry, the bare minimum, that then suddenly became pioneers because they could sit at home writing letters, which I think is equally pointless. But I think now we're sort of reaching the point where the letter writing will probably come to an end. I think there's going to be a bit of panic going on, if I'm honest. I think if I was a PIMO, I'd want that door-to-door ministry to stay out of the way as long as possible, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe some nerves, even maybe some nerves. That idea of going back, knocking doors again.
Yeah,
it's not natural, is it?
No, it's not. It's not natural at all, and I think that's why so many witnesses have an aversion to it, because it is such an unnatural thing to do.
Yeah,
I
must admit, I didn't pioneer because I liked going on door-to-door work. The reason I pioneered is because I wanted to feel part of a group, and I, especially after being disfellowshipped for apostasy and then reinstated, I kind of I sort of felt an obligation, well, not an obligation, a pressure, I think, to do something that would just keep the elders off my back.
Right.
Because I had a massive target on my back when I came back in 2009, and it just felt that if I pioneered at the time, it would kind of alleviate some of those questions. They might not look as closely at me if they think I'm kind of supporting what they're doing. But behind the scenes, I wasn't really a pioneer. I was having all sorts of conversations with people.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you so much for giving us your background and what it was like for you as a PIMO going out in the ministry. Just want to remind anyone watching that this is a phone-in discussion. So Mrs. Jexit, my producer, has kindly put the link in the chat. If you would like to join the stream and share your thoughts or your concerns, please feel free to do so. We particularly want to hear from any PIMOs. If you are PIMO watching and you'd like to join the stream, please feel free to turn your camera off to protect your identity. That's totally fine. And with that, we have our first caller, Marion. Could we have Marion on, please?
Hey,
Hi,
hey guys.
Marion. How are you?
Okay, can you hear me all
Hi,
right?
Marion.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you guys. And I watch both. I watch you, Jackson, a lot, and Daniel. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, what do you think about this whole situation?
Um, well, I came in a little bit late. But yeah, I was a little bit like where I guess similar to a lot of people where for me the whole my problem was letting go of the Armageddon belief. That was my hardest thing. Like I
Hmm.
guess every time I saw something or heard something in the news, I thought, oh, this is it. This it's going to happen. That was the hardest thing for me to finally let go of out of everything that I was taught since I was very small. So um, I think a lot of people probably had that problem as well, thinking that it was going to happen when, you know, it was just something that was taught to us to keep us afraid and to keep us in.
Yeah, I totally get that. That was one of my biggest fears as well while I was, well, after leaving the organization, while I was still mentally in, which was at the start of COVID. And I just remember, thinking, this is it. This is the lead up to Armageddon. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get the anxiety.
Did you, Marianne, did you ever find that the Armageddon belief was a motivator for going on the door-to-door work?
Oh, definitely, because
Mm.
we were taught that if we didn't, we'd be blood guilty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and for me, like, I never liked being in the organization at all. I was always just doing what I had to do to get by and to keep
Yep.
my family happy. Um, I got, let's see, I was baptized at 16, mostly because it would keep my dad off my back. You know what I mean? Like, so I
I
wouldn't
do.
have to hear it.
Yep.
And it's funny because when you think about it, when you're 16, like I'm in the United States, I know you guys aren't, but um, in the state that I grew up in, there wasn't much that you could do without parental consent.
Yep.
Um, you weren't even old enough yet to have your permit for driving. I think that's when you're 17, if I'm not mistaken. So, here you are. It's almost like you're in a like almost like you've signed a contract where if you don't obey the rules, you could be shunned, um, and lose everything that is dear to you. So, yeah, I did a lot just to get to skirt by.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, I well, sorry, just remind me, please. Did you wake up before leaving the organization or after?
I kind of just left.
Hmm.
My dad told me I either had to, because I stopped going to the meetings and all that. And my dad told me, look, if you want to stay here at home, you either have to go back 100%
Hmm.
or you need to move out. And I was 20 years old and I
Mhm.
chose to move out. And that's what I
Hmm.
did. So I guess you would say I was physically out, but slightly mentally in. Like, because I said that Armageddon thing just had like a hold on me for many, many years.
Yeah, yeah. So before you actually left, I mean, you started having doubts or reservations about being a Jehovah's Witness. Did you actually go on the ministry during that time?
No, no, I told my parents right after I turned 18 that I wasn't going anymore
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
anything. No meetings, no field service, nothing. Cold turkey.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and I stuck to that. And then, like I said, within 2 years, they were like, okay, they felt like I was being a bad influence on my younger siblings because I'm
Hmm.
much older than my siblings. Um, and so they thought it was a bad influence to have me not doing anything and them having to go, etc.
Yep.
Right.
And
Right.
the usual the usual kind of script on that is, if you're kind of around about that age, 18, 19-ish, and you're at home with your parents and you're not fully subscribed, there is that kind of you need to be looking for alternative accommodation, isn't there? I know, I understand that.
Yes. And I know nowadays, I think one of the governing body members said something like, well, tell your kids, hey, if you don't want to pioneer, you don't want to do this or that, why
Yeah,
should you even get your driver's license? Like almost, like kids around the age that I was when I was like, no, I just don't want to do this anymore.
yeah.
And that's like they're almost holding that as a carrot or something. I don't know.
I think
Mm,
what you just mentioned about going cold turkey is important. One of the mistakes I made was, and I think it's because I still had family in. I was kind of trying to ride two horses for a period of time.
Mm.
I was out and I didn't want to go back, but I kept thinking about going back in order to get my family back. And that, I think that may be a valid route depending on your circumstances. It was valid for me the first time around back in 2006, 2009. But this time round, just that constant feeling of needing to go back was making me ill. Actually, it was making me really, really ill. And I just reached the point where I realized I needed to completely unplug. So from everything, that was Zoom meetings. Obviously, I wasn't doing any witnessing by then, but I was still sort of sticking my nose into the Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. And I think every time I did that, it was kind of sucking me back in. It's almost like a drug, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the only thing I did was maybe once or twice I went to the memorial, which was
Yeah.
bad enough, and that's only once a year.
Yeah. Yeah. The first year after I left this time around, I did the memorial on my own at home. Um, and the second year I did it, but less enthusiastically. And then the third year, I've stopped altogether. But I think you're right. You do need to unplug if you're ever going to get out. You need a bit of a clean break at some point when the time is right. You need to
When
break
I
free.
moved, and for me, when I moved out, I didn't have any physical eye to eye contact with my
Mm,
family for, I would say, 6 months at least. I just needed, I guess that's the similar thing what you were saying, Daniel. I just needed a complete break from that, and to get into my own life and get into my own routine. And of course, that was way before social media and all that and cell
mm.
phones. This was in the late 80s. So, um, yeah, I just needed a complete break from it. I didn't want to hear about it. I just wanted to be me and experience some normalcy. Like I always say, my middle name should have been Normal. I just wanted a normal life. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for sharing that. And what was it like for you telling your parents that you didn't want to go to the meetings anymore, you didn't want to go out in the ministry anymore? The reason why I ask is that this announcement and returning to the ministry, that may actually preempt that decision for a lot of PIMOs who
Mm.
would otherwise have waited. This may, kickstart that process for them prematurely. So I can imagine that a lot of people are probably feeling really, really worried about having to say to their parents, "I don't want to do this anymore." What was that like for you?
It was scary. Um, I'm sure I had a lot of days where my stomach felt like it was one big knot. But I think I had gotten so frustrated that it just came out, and I said, "That's it, I'm done." Um, and I remember just feeling so alone, because my siblings were a lot younger than me, so they had no choice at the time, and it just really it took a lot, like, physically on me. Like I really just felt like I couldn't eat, I couldn't, you know the only time I felt happy was when I was at school. I was still in high school for a few months. It was my senior year of high school, which is the last year before you would either go on to college or a job or whatever. And And that was the only time I felt like kind of like I could get my act together and feel like a normal person, because I was away from my home for several hours. But it was the hardest, probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I think in the back of my mind I still thought maybe this was true, but I couldn't live. A, Another thing I like to call this a double life. I couldn't be like one person at school and one person at home or at the Kingdom Hall. I just wanted to have a normal life, and I was willing to, like, hey, if I'm gonna die for it, it's worth it.
Yeah, yeah, totally understand that. I felt exactly the same way when I was well, before I woke up, when I thought Armageddon was coming. I felt exactly the same way. I just want to live my life, however long that has left, and I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Marianne, for coming on and
Thank you.
sharing your experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you, guys. You take care.
Bye.
And you. Thank you. So that was great hearing from Marianne, giving that perspective. And yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I think that's it always saddens me when I think that the motivating factor for doing something spiritually related has got to be, if you don't do this, people are going to die, or you're going to die. It's the I've always understood that there's only really two motivators. There's love or fear.
Yeah.
And I think the Watchtower organization capitalizes on fear an awful lot. And I think they would, and I think even this latest situation where they're going back to door-to-door ministry, you can guarantee you will start seeing the fear coming into it. If you don't do this, you know, lives are going to be paid or whatever. And that's not true. I think once you realize that's not the case, it's there's an awful lot of freedom and peace there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the while you're kind of working from a point of view that Armageddon's coming, and if you don't do this, you're going to die, and everybody else is going to die. That's not a nice place to be. Not a nice place to be.
No, definitely not. So many of us can speak from experience when we say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another caller on the line, a longtime friend of the channel, Kim Silvio. Could we have Kim Silvio on?
Hey guys,
hi, Kim.
How you going?
Great. How are you doing?
Loving the fact that I can watch your live stream.
Hello,
not
Kim.
at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Hello, yeah.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah. Time zones are horrible, aren't they?
I know, it's the best. So I'm happy. We were just listening to the live stream, and we just had a question for Daniel about pioneering. Which does my head in, to be honest. Pioneering
is my head in, yeah.
It's crazy. But I just wondered, you said that you would do what you had to do, but you would have some interesting conversations with people in the background.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, were you on witnessing during your witnessing time? Like, what? I'm fascinated because people could use that.
I was doing. I basically, when I went back into the witnesses in 2009. Like I said, I did it for family. I didn't really want to go back, but I did it for family. And I figured if I was there, I might as well make a good job of it. And by good job, I mean a bad job, if that follows. So as a pioneer, yes, I would have conversations, all kinds of spiritual conversations with people. If I was on a cart and somebody came up to me, for example, and said the Watchtower mishandles child sexual abuse, I would agree with them, which used to kind of blow their minds a bit. Wow. I'd very often have people say, why are you even here? You know. And spiritual conversations, you know, I'd get a lot of born again Christians that would come to the cart, and at the time I was kind of the more sort of born again mentality myself, and I would have some brilliant conversations with them on that. But the one thing I wouldn't do is leave them with literature or invite them for a Bible study or anything like that. So
I just think it's fascinating. I was like, I just want to know, what did you do? Like, how did you talk to people? And I hope that any PIMOs that are watching, because they are facing going back to it, that they might be able to do some things like what you did, because I think it's going to be really hard for them.
I think you need to be careful. I think that's the first thing. If there's other witnesses watching on, you're going to get a few funny looks if you're doing some unwitnessing or witnessing about something else, or just generally speaking, agreeing with people when they say that the watchtower is not good. So be careful. One thing that I did used to do a bit of was working on my own, and I know not many people are a fan of that. When you've not got a partner with you on a door or on a cart, it gives you a lot more freedom to be able to converse with people. Whereas if you've got another witness next to you, they're kind of listening to everything you're saying, aren't you? But yeah, I used to have, I mean, I've long been interested in Hinduism and Buddhism and a lot of the sort of Eastern mysticism and that sort of thing. And if I had people come to the cart, or I met somebody on the door that was Hindu or Buddhist or whatever, I wanted to know everything about them. So it was, I wouldn't really even witness a lot of times. I just wanted to know what they believed, and sort of compare it with some of my more diverse thoughts.
That's really interesting.
Hats off to you, because I don't know how anyone on a mental health level copes with being.
I don't think I did actually, Kim. I really struggled. I wouldn't advise it, but I kind of had that feeling that I kind of had a purpose to work within the organization at that time. If I was going to be in it, I might as well use it. And it wasn't just with people on the doors or on the cart, it was within the congregation as well. I spent a lot of time talking to other witnesses that I knew wouldn't grasp me up about proper Christianity, the proper Jesus, the proper gospel message, and that kind of thing. I say now I've kind of expanded a bit into more sort of Eastern beliefs, but at the time I was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Yeah, but it did play. It plays on mental health terribly. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I just think that, if there are any PIMOs watching, that get a strategy, because I think it's going to be a tough time with having to. It's just it's tough. But yes, thank you for answering my question.
Recommend it.
I was just curious.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kim. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Kim.
No worries. I'll see you later.
See ya. Take care.
Yeah, I don't recommend that, Riley.
Yeah. You made an interesting point about working on by yourself and, ensuring that other witnesses don't hear you unwitnessing or hear anything that could, draw undue attention or suspicion upon you. Can you share any kind of tips that you have, or the things that you used to ensure that you flew under the radar, so to speak?
I didn't use literature. That was a big thing. I didn't used to use literature. I would generally speaking, when I went to a door, I would refer to myself as Christian. I would say I was doing a Christian ministry. But I wouldn't kind of go in there all guns blazing with hello, we're offering our Watchtower and Wake magazine and we're Jehovah's Witnesses and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, I was very careful not to, if others were listening, not to make it look as if I was kind of on an opposing team. All the while I sort of used a Bible. I carried on using the New World Translation, even though I didn't particularly like it. I carried on using the New World Translation. Just the general stuff like, I carried a bag with nothing in it. That sort of thing.
Wow. So the bag was just a prop.
The bag was a yeah. Just having sandwiches in it. I think you just got to look the part. If you are PIMO and you don't want any attention on you, you've got to look the part, and you've got to at least be putting in some pseudo hours. You know, otherwise your elders are going to start looking, aren't they? That's why I say I don't recommend it. I think it's this, like Kim was saying, was it Kim or Marianne was saying about a double life? It does play on your mind after a bit when you're kind of sort of sneaking around in the backgrounds doing one thing. And I think if PIMOs are going to be going back out on door-to-door witnessing, but not really with the enthusiasm that they had before, that's going to really start playing on their mental health, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really feel for them.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't envy anyone in this position at all, because it's like they're being, there's a potential for them to be exposed.
Yeah, I think that's the case, isn't it? It's I mean, I spent a lot of time sort of sneaking around watching YouTube videos and following tweets and that sort of thing, but never really sort of identifying myself when I was a PIMO. It's a horrible position to be in, because we call it cognitive dissonance, don't we? Where you know one thing, but you're doing another for a purpose, whatever that is, whether it's family, whether it's to help people in the congregation, whether it's to unwitness, or even if it's just, for a bit of peace and quiet, so people aren't sort of hounding you. But there's always that sort of feeling that you're living that double life, and it just doesn't sit right, or it didn't with me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to remind everyone that this is a phone-in discussion. So if you'd like to join the stream, please feel free to do so. The link is in the chat. So, and if you need to have your camera off to protect your identity, that is totally fine. But we'd really love to hear from you. Also, yes, my apologies, Daniel. I forgot to mention your podcast, how people can connect with you, and your website. All the links are in the video description. So please check out Daniel's podcast. It's really, really interesting. I'm a subscriber myself. I've been listening to it for a while now. So don't forget to check out all of Daniel's information in the description of this video.
Thanks, Riley.
Okay. So do we have any comments that we can put on the screen and discuss, please? Thank you. From Outside the Box. Questions. Hi, Daniel. Because of family, you went back to the York. Is your family members still in? If yes, how do you cope with the shunning? Do you have PIMO friends?
Good question. So, yes, I do still have family members that are in. My dad is in, my sister is in, and 2 of my children are actually in. When my marriage broke up in 2019 and I was disfellowshipped, 2 of my children were still Jehovah's Witnesses at the time with their JW mum. And what's transpired since then is my ex-wife is now disassociated as well. But my kids, instead of coming out with her or coming out with, well, first they were shunning me and now they're shunning her. And they've ended up actually living with their maternal grandparents, who have essentially turned the kids completely against me and completely against their mum as well. I've also got 2, pretty much all of my family are Jehovah's Witnesses on both sides of my family. So something like about 40 or 50 relatives, aunties, uncles, cousins, everybody. How do I cope with the shunning? I don't know if I do. If I'm honest, it makes me very, very sad. Very, very sad. There's always that kind of knot in the stomach when I think about my children, particularly. I think the only thing you can do at the end of the day is, even if you think that they're being brainwashed or indoctrinated against you, I think the only thing that you can do is give it time. I think people wake up when they're ready to wake up. You can do your little bit, sow a few little seeds. But if you push it too much, if you force it too much, you don't want to do that, I don't think, because at the end of the day, the Watchtower organization is all about control. We don't want to control people. That's how I feel. So I just sow a few little seeds with my kids where I can, tell them that I love them, I've told them it's a cult, and that I will be here if and as and when they wake up and they come out. But yeah, very painful. I don't think I deal with it particularly well, if I'm honest. I don't know about you, Riley.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same situation as you. I'm being shunned by, my children and my mother, who are my only witness relatives, thank goodness. But yeah, it is. I mean, I get exactly that same knot in my stomach when I think about them as well.
And there's not a lot you can do, is there, about the whole
No.
situation? You can. I think the best thing you can do is have a life. Don't, at the end of the day, if they don't want to be in your life at this moment in time, the worst thing you can do is just sit around sort of hoping that they will be. You need to get on and have a life, start new relationships, have new friends. I have got PIMO friends, but I've got quite a few friends that are left as well. And just show that, I think you just need to demonstrate, don't you, that life outside of the cult is not bad. That's
exactly.
The thing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
If you just walk around crying all the time for everything you've lost, they're going to look on and think, we'll stay where we are. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, a good friend of mine has said something very similar to me. She said that have a life so that if your children or your family or friends eventually do seek you out, they have something to come to.
Yes. Yeah. Couldn't agree more with that.
That is excellent advice.
Yeah, I've kind of worked on the same principle. Like when my children were very young, I went back because at the time they needed their dad with their mum in the house in that environment. But now my children are older, I'm not going back. I'm not going back for them. I'm going to stay out so that if and as and when they wake up and leave, they've got somewhere to go to.
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so do we have any more comments? Interesting questions? Thank you from Marion Lockwood. That's the worst part when you have something you can't control. But yes, live your best life. Yeah. Again, really, really good advice. And from Dan Cooper, just be strong, Daniel. Lead by example with a better attitude. You are a trooper and capable of making a difference. What a lovely comment.
That's kind.
Very kind.
Yeah, I think a lot of the comments as well that people leave you, I think it pays to be open and honest with people and tell your story, because you do actually get quite a lot of support and people leave some lovely comments, don't they?
Yeah,
that keeps you going.
Yeah, I get many of those myself on Twitter and mostly on YouTube. Annie, thank you, Annie. Annie Saved by Grace. Didn't Tony Morris give a talk about if you didn't preach, you would have blood on your hands? Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. He likes all the blood and gore, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Tony.
I think he's really, really messed up mentally. He's got some issues.
Yeah.
He's got some issues.
Yeah. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day about hello Mariella, if you're watching. The matchstick illustration he used, where he blew the matchstick out.
Yeah.
And gave a laugh. And my girlfriend was saying, if you listen carefully, the audience were completely silent and it's like they didn't know what to do. And then one person gave a little giggle and then everyone laughed. Because I'm pretty sure people in that audience felt bad about laughing at that.
Yeah. But it just goes to show how, the herd mentality as well.
Yeah, it does.
The herd mentality of not just this organization, but cults in general. It's groupthink. It's groupthink and it's group behavior. It's like,
and in the back of your mind, you know that what you're doing isn't right. I think with the shunning, I think I always felt in the back of my mind that shunning was wrong, even though I did shun when I was a witness, and I'm really embarrassed about that now. And I also think, coming back to the door-to-door ministry theme that you've got going on here, I think in the back of my mind, door-to-door ministry, I was always thinking this is not right. We're going around pestering people on their doors. They don't really want us here. If they wanted us, they would come and find us, sort of thing. there's always that conflict there, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I remember I used to feel very conflicted about the fact that we were going out there giving people our literature, but if they
Oh
offered
yeah,
us their literature,
yeah,
we refused it, and it just seemed
yeah.
so hypocritical, and there wasn't a way that I could justify that in my mind.
That's right. Yeah. Again, if
Yeah.
I was working on my own, I would take it
Mm.
and have a read a bit later.
Yeah.
When you've got a partner next to you, yeah, and it's awkward, isn't it? You know, they've just taken
It
your
is.
Watchtower magazine or whatever, and then they offer you a little pamphlet about, you know, Christianity or Hinduism or whatever, and you say, "Oh no, I can't take that."
Yeah. 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 It's a complete double standard.
It's a double standard, and I think it's just total paranoia. It always struck me that if a little pamphlet from another religion can knock your faith off the rails, then how good is your faith in the first place? You know, you should be able to have robust discussions with people of other faiths and not come away doubting your own if there's truth in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And this is one of the things that so many of us like just say over and over again. If it is the truth, it should be able to stand up to scrutiny.
Yep.
It should be able to confront a challenge and walk away victorious if it is the truth.
That's the thing, though. When you go from door to door as a witness, you're not out to have a discussion about somebody else's beliefs. You're there to give them your beliefs.
Yeah,
that's the whole remit. You're not there to, you know, and if you do show any kind of interest in their beliefs, generally speaking, it's only to get that old common ground, isn't it? So then you can slip in with your message again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole door-to-door preaching is built or based on the door-to-door salesman model.
Yes.
And when a salesman comes to your door, he's there to sell something, not to buy anything.
Yes.
You know, and when they listen to you, when a door-to-door salesman listens to you, it's only to be able to get an angle or to get an in. You know, and it's exactly the same with Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes, that's it. It's fake. I was literally just talking about this today with someone. The door-to-door ministry is from a time when people used to go to the door for all kinds of things. They would come to your door for selling your milk, collecting your rent. They'd come to the door to sell your brushes or whatever.
Yeah, hoovers.
You know, hoovers. That's it, yeah.
Double glazing.
Double glaze. I used to be a double. Now here's the thing, Riley. When I was a pioneer, going way back when I was a young lad, I was a pioneer, regular pioneer. I had an egg round. Do you remember egg round?
Oh wow!
That used to be a big thing, didn't they? And I was also a double glazing salesman.
Wow!
The people in my territory, they were confused, man. I'll tell you. I'd go to the door and I don't want windows. It's all right. I've come with eggs. I'm not about religion this week. No, it's all right. I'm selling the windows this time. But it was from those days, wasn't it? You know, door-to-door witnessing was back in the old day where the old stereotypical housewife was chained to the kids and sink, and you know,
the husband was out of work.
Husband was out of work, so he was out of the picture, and that is not life anymore. That is not life. That is not how people operate anymore, you know. And I think if somebody calls at my door now about anything, I generally don't want to talk to them if I don't know them.
Exactly.
You know.
All right, so we have another caller in the green room, and that is Michelle. Thanks, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello, Michelle.
Good to see you.
How are you doing? I'm loving the hair, by the way.
Thank you.
Cool.
The first thing I did, I think, after leaving, I'm a little bit sick, so please excuse my voice.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
That's okay. It's 7 a.m. here, or nearly 8 a.m. So I'm glad I could just jump in and say hey. And I love that you guys are talking about it. In particular, giving tips on what to do if you are PIMO. We had our TikTok moment the other day about doing the free home Bible study presentation.
Yeah.
That's always a good one, because when I was like fully PIMI, I think that was like your next level Uber JW, like you're like really JW wanting to do a Bible study, that would be your presentation. But it was actually a friend of mine that was like, no, this is actually a big hack. Like no one's ever going to say yes. So just do that one if you're nervous about
yes.
doing, door to door, because my presentation was always like, I've got the latest Watch Sharon Awake magazine, and I always felt like I wasn't good enough for just having that basic presentation. But the free home Bible study is a big hack, because you look like you're super spiritual, but you don't actually have to talk about anything.
That's good. And another one is if you go to the door and identify yourself immediately as a Jehovah's Witness. Yes. Hello, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Straight away, that closes it down.
Yeah. And I
actually use both of those.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed though how many witnesses actually won't say who they are?
Yeah.
They go, so who are you then? And they go, oh well, we're just doing a Bible work. Yeah, but who are you? Well, we're just asking people. Yeah, but who are you?
We're volunteers.
Oh yes, that one. Yeah, volunteers. Yeah.
I've actually worked with witnesses who have used the term Bible students to describe themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder how the Bible students that still exist feel about that.
Yeah. At the time, I had no idea that there were any Bible students that
still are. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a complete revelation to me, finding that out.
Me too, actually.
Yeah.
So your advice for a PIMO then, if you're doing the door-to-door work, is just to be really bad at it.
Also, the other thing that I've done that I've realized since leaving was perhaps like part of that plan without realizing, was I joined a foreign language congregation.
And so did I. Yep.
If you're not a native speaker, you're always generally paired with a native speaker on the doors. And you can just do a real simple like, hi, I'm Michelle. Would you like this watch shower? And then if they're interested, the native speaker that's with you will jump in. Or they'll be like, wow, I'm really impressed with you speaking my language. And they'll just talk about that instead. Like it was always a positive experience, but you didn't actually have to do too much work. Yeah.
The great thing with the foreign language ministry as well, I don't know if you, Michelle, did what's known as search work, where you go out into like a city and you look for people that seem to be of that nationality. You can spend most of your day just walking around a city doing nothing.
Yeah.
The other one, it's I lost my thought there, but yeah, you can. Oh, that's it. Travel time.
Yes.
Once you sort of find a few people of a certain nationality that are dotted all over your territory, you can spend a good 8 hours doing like 2 or 3 calls, can't you?
Yep, exactly. Like it's really
all the cheats, all the cheats.
This is fascinating because I never served in the foreign language field, so this is all new to me. But it's all very ingenious.
Yeah.
It's sad though, isn't it? It's sad, you know. And depending on where you are, you get to count like 25 hours of learning time as well for your language lessons, don't you, Michelle?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you get time credit.
Because I think that when right before I left, because my wake up was sudden, like it was all of a sudden and research based by accident. But right up until that time before the pandemic, I was like I think I'd go do early morning or street witnessing on a Saturday morning from either 5 or 7 in the morning until the group at 9. And then more often than not, because I was in foreign language, it would be like a couple hours doing the door to door in a car, like, going to like 3 houses. Or we'd be going to a mall and doing like informal search work, trying to find people I was in a Spanish congregation, so trying to find Spanish speakers. And then in the afternoon, maybe someone would have a call or I'd be on the carts, and then go to the meeting. And then the next day on a Sunday was the same again, meet for the group, go to the mall. And then that was like, it was very much not door-to-door oriented for me.
Yeah, I think that's probably probably a top tip. If you're a PIMO and you're being told to go back into door-to-door ministry, find someone else to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing all of that. I mean, those are really, really valuable tips.
And it does make you look good. So if you're like stuck there because of your family, everything, like, it makes you look like you're spiritual in a foreign language congregation and on the carts or doing all of these little things. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, good to see you. Thank you so much, and get well soon.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Michelle. Cheers.
See ya.
Take care. Bye. And we have another caller, Patrick. Can we have Patrick? Yeah. Right. Hi, Patrick. How are you doing?
Hey.
We have another.
Hey, Patrick.
Patrick.
How you guys doing? I just want to make sure you can hear me all right.
Hi, Patrick. How are you doing? Yeah, we can hear you fine, but we're getting a little bit of feedback. Would you mind just muting your speakers? Yeah, we can hear you fine. Or I think you have the YouTube page up.
Okay. How's this? A little bit better?
Yeah, we can still hear an echo. If you could close down the YouTube page while we're on the stream.
Okay. I'll try to call back, see if I can make this work.
Okay then, cool.
Okay. I'll try to.
Okay, so hopefully we'll hear from Patrick again in a couple of minutes. All right, do we have any comments in the meantime? Apostate Coalition. Oh, so this is Jonathan, my good friend Jonathan from over on TikTok. There is a good chance that many are secretly embarrassed or ashamed to bother people at their doors. Absolutely. I know.
Yes,
I was.
I agree. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to feel apologetic.
Definitely. Yeah. 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 I remember being counseled for saying sorry to disturb you.
Sorry for bothering you. Yeah.
Sorry for bothering you. I remember being counseled for saying that, because no, we're not sorry that we're here trying to save their life. That's what someone said to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Patrick back.
Okay, a little bit better.
That is much better. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Perfect. Hello, Patrick.
Like you said,
How you
my
doing?
YouTube page. And
So what would you like to share with us?
This is really interesting with the going back. You know, I was disfellowshipped in January of 2020, and I mean, this is really the first time since since I've been disfellowshipped. Really, we were there for a few months. March of 2020, obviously with the pandemic going down. This is the first time now that door to door is back in action. So this is going to be interesting to see how it's going to affect people that are still in, and just go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So how and when did you wake up?
So I was an elder. I was a pioneer, and I was disfellowshipped for basically just coming forward and admitting viewing pornography. I did a video with a friend of mine, Justin, at ExJW Diaries.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
I thought you looked familiar. I saw you on yes, I saw you on his channel. Yeah. That's right.
And he's doing a lot of really great content and everything. So it's been a roller coaster process for me. But I eventually woke up in September of 2020. So I was in the process of coming back on Zoom when that whole thing was going down, and then I discovered the John Cedars channel, right? And then that was kind of like the slow process to me coming back. And then now here I am. So it's crazy how I look back at January of 2020, and it seems like an eternity ago. And now with going back to the ministry, you forget. You're like, man, it has been a long time since they've been back in the ministry and actually door knocking and doing that. So I'm just curious to see how that's going to affect a lot of the PIMOs that are still in there, and if this is going to be a breaking point for them, where they're going to have to just decide that, hey, this isn't it, and I got to actually take action and step aside. So
how would you be feeling if you were still in?
If
you were still in and now you had to go back to it?
Yeah, if I was a PIMO myself. Yeah. Oh, that'd be huge. I would try to be doing all the loopholes, you know, like I'd have a group made up already, and you know, it's like, yeah, already got plans, and trying to find all the little loopholes that we had when
I've got a return visit to go on. You know, that mysterious.
She likes to talk. It's about 3 hours long, you know. So I got this return.
Yeah,
visit. But yeah,
there was always that one witness who would like do 2 doors and then disappear on a return visit, and you wouldn't see them for the rest of the morning.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. I mean, you know, just how they've kind of incrementally come out with the carts, and then now with the door to door. I mean, you know, people have to be questioning that. They have to be wondering, like, we had so much emphasis on, you know, nothing is going to stop the ministry. You know, there's no government, there's no opposition, there's no restriction, and then to come out and just be out of it for so long, and it's kind of like like the whole world has kind of moved on. It feels like, you know, like everyone's back to normal, but they were still delaying. I mean, I had Mormons call on my door like a year ago. And you know, so, I mean, they got to be asking, like, well, hey, like, are we gonna go back? I mean, you know, you're hammering how the door to door is so important.
It makes you wonder how important it actually is, isn't it? Because the same with the meetings, they stopped the in-person meetings. Now they've reintroduced the in-person meetings, and they're saying that the Zoom meetings aren't don't really count. That's effectively what they're saying. You need to be at an in-person meeting. And now I think the next stage they're going to be saying that, you know, letter writing doesn't really count. So what have you been doing for 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, exactly.
I think the door-to-door ministry is important, but not for the reason that they want Jehovah's Witnesses to think it is. It's not important for bringing people in. No. It doesn't bring anyone in. No. It's important for solidifying the group. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're facing constant rejection, you're going to retreat more inwards within the group, because that's where you find acceptance and unity and, you know, all of those culty things. You know, it's not important for bringing people in.
Yeah, exactly. It's not effective. No, and it's funny how hypocritical, just with the announcement that was just released with, you know, we're not going to question anybody if they choose to be on Zoom as opposed to being in person. And then they just had the recent announcement like, hey, we kind of want you here at the Kingdom Hall. We don't really want you on Zoom anymore. If it's great, you know, if you can come on in, that'd be really great.
I think they overestimated how many people would return to the Kingdom Hall physically. That's so it kind of caught them on the back foot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And hopefully that will be the same with the door-to-door ministry.
Yeah. So we have a question for Patrick from Outside the Box. What was the main factor that contributed in your waking up process?
Yeah, so without plugging the video that I made on ExJW Diaries, it's just on his channel ExJW Diaries. It's ex-elder, ex-pioneer. If you just search for that, it'll come up. But it was a series of things. I call it the 3 Ds in the video. It was obviously my disfellowship. It was so first of all, it was the death of my dad, who was also an elder as well. We served together. I think without having his influence, you know, that was I think one barrier. And then it was my disfellowshipping, and then it was my eventual divorce. So then it was basically just me being absolutely completely isolated. And my ex had basically changed her name. We were legally separated. We weren't divorced. And then on one of the Zoom calls, she had changed her name back to her maiden name, and that was a horrible experience. I saw that and I'm like, you know what? I feel like the marriage is almost over. And it was at that point that I went to my bedroom basically, and I just started crying, and I prayed to Jehovah, and I just said, Jehovah, I don't know what to do, for probably about 30 minutes. And I think what happened was, you know how your phone can pick up your voice for advertisements. Like if you're talking about, let's say, BMW cars, right? And all of a sudden you start seeing ads for BMW. It's just kind of like it listens in sort of thing. I think what happened is that it picked that up because I just kept saying Jehovah over and over. And then I went on YouTube later that night, and all of a sudden, that was that Lloyd Evans video. I think it was like 10 things that Jehovah's Witnesses don't know about their own religion. I think it was one of those videos. And I figured, you know what? Like, I obviously, it's apostate, right? And I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? You know, I'm completely alone. I don't know what else to do. And so I just watched it. And then, like, in the video I relate, it was mostly his mannerisms and how calmly he was and how logical the points he made. That's what really kind of like showed me that it's not at all what Watchtower said, that apostates are basically these angry, these horrible people that are just screaming at the microphone. And so it was at that point, it just kind of slowly started. I just watched a little bit more of his videos, and I cross-referenced them on like JW Facts, and it was just that process of just kind of like putting the pieces together. And you just see how much information was hidden from you. Even myself as an elder, like, so much of that information was you never knew about, you never heard about it. And then getting crisis of conscience, of course, and then really filling in the gaps. So it was definitely that process. It kind of like it was building blocks that stacked upon themselves. And then I eventually was just like, you know what, this isn't it,
Wow, that's amazing.
Good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Great speaking to you in person. I really enjoyed that video you did with Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Riley.
I remember watching it. Yeah, it was absolutely great. What I think I'll do after the stream, I'll find the link and I'll put the link in the video description.
Sure thing. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so people can watch it. But yeah, it was an excellent video. Thank you so much for watching and for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us.
For sure. Thanks again, you guys.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. Take care. Okay. So are there any more comments? No, we don't have any callers waiting either. So yeah, I think we've been streaming for an hour now. I think we can more or less wrap up. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with any PIMOs who are watching, Daniel?
I think I was just interested in the common thread that came through a lot of those calls and comments was to, if you're feeling nervous about doing the door-to-door ministry, find some ways of getting out of it.
Yeah. If
possible, maybe do a bit of foreign language ministry or cart witnessing, that sort of thing. You can tend to kind of keep a bit more of a low profile then, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those tips that Michelle shared as well are really, really good because they kind of kill two birds with one stone. They make you look super spiritual while at the same time accomplish nothing, which is what you want to do if you're a PIMO on the ministry.
I'll tell you what it reminded me of. Have you ever seen that film Schindler's List?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. One of my favorite films.
Brilliant film. Liam Neeson, isn't it, playing the part of Schindler.
Oscar Schindler.
And there's a bit where he takes one of the because he's got a factory that's making shells for the German army. Yeah. And he takes one of the guys to one side. It says, if this factory ever produces a shell that can be fired, I shall be very disappointed. It just reminded me of that. I think if you're a PIMO in the organ, just don't try too hard. I think that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. One final comment from Apostle Babe Linda James, another long-time friend of the channel. Thank you. Will you be doing this kind of live stream again? Absolutely. Love live streams. Watchtower is the gift that keeps on giving. So I'm sure that we'll never, ever run out of topics to talk about on a live stream like this. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining me. Really appreciate your input.
You're very welcome. It's been fun.
Your unique perspective as well. Thank you. And just a reminder, you can connect with Daniel via Twitter and his podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms. Links are in the video description below. Please go ahead and check that out. Thanks again, Daniel. Really appreciated your help and input on this. Thank you. And thank you, viewers, for watching. Please, if you haven't already done so, drop a like on this video. It will really help to get it out to as many people as possible. This subject in particular, I think, is really important for PIMO Jehovah's Witnesses, just to give them a bit of, I hate to say the E word because it's so J-dub, encouragement, but I can't think of another word to say in its place. So yeah, please drop a like on the video to help it get out to as many people as it will help. And please subscribe to the channel with notifications so that you get notified whenever I post new content. Thanks again for watching. Please proceed to the Jexit in an orderly fashion, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. If you haven't already done so, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you like my work and want to help me continue doing it, please support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Jexit_2020.